If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome back to another episode of Bombshell 1111 Girl Talk Series Podcast. Bombshell 1111 is a platform created to teach ways to nourish the mind, body, and soul. This platform allows this podcast to create weekly content on podcasts with special guests each week that will stimulate your spiritual, mental, and physical growth. The podcasts are played on social media platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, Anchor radio station, Apple Podcasts, and more. This station has been created to allow us to interact with each other to share knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and light. So without further ado, please help me welcome your host and founder of Bombshell 1111 Girl Talk Series, Keya.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bombshell 1111 Podcast, Therapy for Women of Color. My name is Keya, and I'm your host. Tonight, you guys, we have a very special guest by the name of Laura Weiner-Kiser. She's a certified health coach, life coach, personal trainer, nutrition specialist, and mobility specialist. Her purpose in life is to help people enhance their relationships within their body and mind. So without further ado, you guys, let's welcome her to the podcast. Welcome, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on, and you're more than welcome. So tonight we're going to talk about, you specialize in a lot of different things, especially like things that are pertinent to day-to-day life as far as like your health, because your health is wellness is, health is wellness, that whole little spiel, however it goes.
Yeah.
So I know, this is a very important topic, and I tried to get like generalized questions that the audience and listeners may have that may kind of like open the door for you to be able to talk about and explain other things. Two specific areas that I kind of wanted to touch on were the life coach and health coach nutrition areas of your specialties. So I like to start off basically with giving the guest speaker a time to do a short description, bio about who you are and what you're from and what you represent. So I'm going to let you have the floor in doing so.
Awesome. So yes, my name is Laura Weiner-Kiser, and I started a company called Change by Challenge because I believe if it does not challenge you, it will not change you. And most people are coming to me for some type of change work. I started as a personal trainer. I myself have suffered 9 broken bones. So I wanted to teach people how to be strong, how to understand their body. And I also was very overweight from a young age and, suffered some of the psychological challenges that accompany being overweight, and just wanted to help people navigate through that because I myself had been able to come to the other side of it. And along my journey, yes, I have a lot of different specialties because I kept realizing like, ooh, people need this. And ooh, this is what a lot of people are coming to me about. Mm-hmm. And I've landed, and I think it's where I'll most likely stay just because the energy around it is so intense and vibrant. But I think I've landed in health and life coaching for a very specific reason. And it's that I've finally realized you can't heal inside problems with outside solutions or outside problems with inside solutions. And what I mean by that is, if your back hurts, you can't go to therapy and talk about your back hurts and expecting the structural problem to improve, right? Mm-hmm. And likewise, a lot of people will come to me and say they want to gain muscle or they want to lose weight. And if they do, they're going to feel happy or they're going to feel confident. Well, a lack of confidence is an inside problem. And I can't tell you how many people came to me wanting to achieve these outside goals, expecting to feel something. And when we achieved it, they didn't feel whatever they hoped they would feel. And then they felt discouraged and unmotivated and, would lose their results or fall off track or just kind of be like, oh, I guess I need more then. I guess I need more. And I wasn't able to give them what they were really searching for. And it just kind of made me curious. And that's really what drove me into health and life coaching, to really be able to help people get the peace of mind they're looking for, both inside and while understanding how to achieve whatever results they want on the outside, because it all comes down to, the balance that you're willing to adjust your life to. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, well, good deal. And that you kind of did a good job in leading into the segue of my next question. Why did you decide to become a life coach, and what specific areas do you focus on?
That's a great question. I focus on areas dealing with stress management, health, career, and relationships. And that's largely because I started as a trainer and I heard a lot about stress. I heard a lot about careers and relationships. And those are the things that typically kind of get in the way or present obstacles to people being their healthiest self. So that's where my focus has been drawn, just because I believe that self-care and self-love is truly misunderstood in how important it is. And I feel like COVID has kind of shined a little bit of a light on that. And a lot of people even misunderstand what self-care is, but we mostly interpret it as, being fit or healthy. And so I like to target life coaching with the slow integration of self-care leading through health. And what kind of blended me into life coaching from personal training is the results that I was getting with clients that I would have certain conversations with. So when I would listen to specific mindset podcasts, and I would just kind of throw the ball around with my clients to be like, here's what I got from this message. What did you get? And just kind of have those conversations. They were actually getting more results. They were able to follow through better. They were, achieving their goals quicker. And I was like, what is going on? And I just kind of noticed the trend. And there was a couple of clients specifically who really made big jumps in the right direction after me trying to get them to do something for 5-6 years. And within a month, they were following through every single time, that I realized I'd been doing it wrong. I was trying to help people from the outside in, and you need to go from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Laura, for those individuals that have been listening thus far that may not have an understanding of exactly what a life coach is, can you explain exactly what a life coach is and what they do?
Yes. So it's a great question, because honestly, if you would have asked me this before I was a life coach, I'd be like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Which honestly, how I typically prefer to explain this to people is I give them a session to show them, because it's easier. But for argument's sake, because we are on a podcast, the best way that I have found to describe it is a life coach holds the client to their truest potential based on what the client has expressed, because we don't share the fear that they hold or that they feel. And we help them break down their fear, rewire their mind to upgrade their belief patterns and their programming to allow them to step into empowered action. And if that's too much of a mouthful, it's kind of like therapy, except we don't go into the past. We understand, where it's sourced from to see a pattern. And then we figure out ways to think about it in a different way that will allow you to move forward in your future, achieving the goals you want to achieve.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So let's hop right into health coaching and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes you different from other health coaches?
Probably my experience and extensive research background. I've been just a nutrition specialist for the last 6 years, and I know a lot about food in general. Like, I have had multiple conversations with nutritionists or dietitians, and they actually like the health coaching element, because the difference is, even from a nutrition or a dietitian, is we tend to go more into the internal body systems and how they work with us. So for example, if you're eating a really healthy meal, but you're stressed out, the blood flow is not in your digestive system. And what that means is your digestive system is now impaired and incapable of absorbing and taking in the necessary nutrients to its best capabilities. So what makes me different is having the information about what to consume and like what percentages and whatnot to give you the results you want, while also understanding that it's not just about what you eat. It's about the behaviorisms, it's about the mental conditioning, it's about where the blood flow is, it's about your sleep, it's about your hydration, it's about your stress, genetics. I mean, it makes sense to me now why people have such a hard time losing weight, because of how many things go into it. And my understanding of all the different aspects is what I believe makes me different.
So Laura, you hear and you see a lot of different commercials on television, you read a lot of different things on social media, magazines, what have you. From your experience and expertise, what does a healthy diet look like?
It's very person dependent, but the overall base that I normally start my clients at to help kind of see what their digestive patterns promote is about 1/3 of your plate being a strong source of protein, 1/3 a good source of fat, and then 1/3 a combination of vegetables and dense starchy carbs. Because our digestive system works together, and when we just eat protein here and then we just eat fat here, it doesn't digest the same way. And for our stomach and weight loss or muscle gain, we want things to work together so it can kind of move through the system, distribute to the necessary hormones, create the energy we need it to create accordingly.
Oh my God. You just gave me a whole realization of what's going on with me. Oh my God. Okay. You did. Okay, now that explains a lot. Okay. Wow. That makes so much sense, Laura. That makes so much sense. And I guess it's kind of pretty much what you said to kind of what led you to starting to become a health coach and a nutritionist, is that you don't think how the mind and the body they're so connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like what you just said, really, if you don't fix the inside, you can't fix the outside, and vice versa.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. So, Laura, what kinds of diet tracking methods would you use with your clients, or would you advise the audience and listeners to use that are, working on maybe trying to diet?
So this is a very kind of caution question to me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because society has convinced so many of us that we need to look a very specific way. And I do strongly believe that we need to heal the inside from the inside and the outside from the outside. But a lot of people don't like that idea, so they'll just kind of skate by it. And if you're someone who really believes you need to look a certain way to feel a certain way, and I tell you to measure your progress based on the scale, you're going to have a lot of negative self-talk, which will induce more stress into your system, which will make it even harder for you to achieve your goals. So it's very person dependent based on their psychology and how, I'm going to use the word obsessed they are with achieving their results. Obsessed might be intense, but that's kind of the caution that I give. I like to start people with the physical symptoms their body gives them. So ideally, we want to consume meals, just how I said, 1/3 protein, fat, and then dense carbs / veggies. And that meal should keep us satisfied for 4 to 6 hours. That will allow our body to go into fat burning. And that's what we typically want for healthy digestion, hormonal function, etc. And so the first way I encourage people to measure is based on their plate, then the duration of their satisfaction. Now, if they're having very specific body goals, I encourage people to use pictures because that's what we end up judging ourselves on anyways. You know, you can step on the scale and it can say 150 or 150 pounds and you're a size 10. And then you can step on the scale and it can say 170 pounds and you're a size 4. Well, do you care? Like, what's more important? And we kind of, that's why I don't like the scale, because we don't actually care about the weight. It's just the measurement tool that makes the most sense to us. Whereas what typically motivates people to lose weight or get into a program or gain muscle is a picture. So what better way to measure your progress than a picture? Now, a lot of people also don't like taking the first picture, of course. So I also encourage physical measurements, like circumference measurements. The only problem with that is sometimes they can be a little inaccurate if you're not measuring at the exact same point. So you would need to get very specific with, you know, what are you feeling? Is it on your belly button? Is it measured an inch below? So on and so forth.
Okay. And Laura, just to go back, and I know you said it twice, but for the listeners and also for me, because I'm taking notes, what did you say the proper portions are in reference to what you should have on your plate? 1/3
protein, 1/3 fat, and then a 1/3 of a mixture of vegetables and dense starchy carbs.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm going to try to follow that, see what happens. You have talked about it kind of like back and forth in between throughout the duration of our conversation. For those individuals who are trying to also not only lose weight, but also gain weight, what would be some suggestions or tips that you would give them in reference to nutrition and gaining the proper weight for those who want to gain weight? And for those who want to lose weight, how to develop those proper kind of diet techniques?
Of course. So for people who want to gain weight, you definitely need, like in the healthier weight, you definitely need to be mindful of your exercise patterns, because that's typically how you gain the right type of weight, making sure you're getting in heavier exercise, but less reps. So typically the ratio is 8 to 12, or anywhere from 5 to 12 reps for 5 to 6 sets of a heavier weight. So where you would want to feel fatigued, and you would want to consume anywhere from 1 gram per pound of body weight or more, and emphasize a little bit more into the carb front, more in the afternoon and morning than evening, to help create the necessary energy and give you that type of performance. The thing to kind of be wary of is that carbohydrates do have tryptophan in them, so they can make you a little bit more sleepy. So, you know, if you're having a big meeting, make sure that you maybe aren't as heavy on the carbs right before the meeting and emphasize a little bit more protein in that meal. So if I use the plate that I just explained to you, I would double the portion of protein and then keep the other ratios the same for weight gain. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And then for weight loss, it's, again, focusing on protein, not necessarily doubling it, but definitely have a strong focus on protein and leaning more into fat, because fat is a denser macronutrient. And what that means is it takes twice as long for our body to digest it. So it slows our digestion down and allows us to absorb the nutrients even more. But also it's what makes us leaner and keeps us full longer. And then a common misconception within the exercise realm for people who are losing weight is they got to be cardio bunnies, when actuality, the overall burn is better with like a circuit training type format. So anywhere from 12 to 30 reps for 3 sets would be my suggestion for people who are trying to lose weight. Cardio is, of course, important, but you still get that when you're doing circuit training. And if you want to do, 20 minutes on the side 3 times a week, that's okay. But you're not going to get as many results if you spend 5 hours doing cardio versus 5 hours doing strength training.
Okay, so Laura, let's go back to the proportions, because I did have a question in reference to that. So when you are getting ready, prepping for your week, for those individuals who food prep for the week, just from like your experience or any opinions or suggestions that you may have for breakfast, lunch, and supper, what would you suggest? Just throw out any examples that you suggest that would provide the proper amount of nutrition that you need in order to get the 1/3 protein, the 1/3 fat, the 1/3 mixture of veggie starch and carbs for breakfast, lunch, and supper.
So breakfast can be either a healthy smoothie, which means not a lot of fruit, but more heavier in the vegetables and protein with a good source of fat in there. So still getting the right portions, but smoothie always is easy and tasty. Or a delicious omelet. I mean, a lot of us are working from home, so we've been able to cook more at home. So great omelet that, again, accompanies those portions. It's just very person dependent on their preferences. And then lunch and dinner, I like this question because a lot of people separate those into 2 meals, and I prefer to think of them as the same, because a lot of people think of lunch as like, okay, I have a salad or a sandwich or a wrap or something like that. But why not have chicken breast with some vegetables and, some quinoa on the side? What about that is bad, right? It's actually easier mentally if we think about the meals that we eat for dinner and lunch as interchangeable, because it opens up a lot more recipes, but also you have a greater chance of consuming the right types of portions, because sandwiches, for instance, they might have good contents on the inside, but the carbs that you consume just in the bread typically weigh out your plate just to begin with. So I'm a vegetarian, so for me, I normally like to have I'll have like my version of a chicken patty with pesto, cheese, and edamame spaghetti and some tomatoes and asparagus. And then for dinner, I might have a loaded salad with hard-boiled eggs, meat substitutes, some nuts, goat cheese, and maybe some vinaigrette. But for your convenience, if you look at my website, there is a portion called the Recipe of the Month where I put on there recipes that I encourage people to try out for different meals.
Yeah, I did. I checked that out. I was like, oh, that's so nice. I like that.
I like to make it as easy as possible for people.
Yeah, I'm like that. And there's a little incentive as well. You get a recipe every month. Yeah. So, Laura, okay, we're coming to a close with the podcast, but before we end, I wanted to allow you some time to provide more information and feedback in reference to your business and, for the listeners that may want to contact you. My first question is, do you offer online coaching?
Yes, that is my primary form of coaching.
Okay, and what platforms would people be able to contact you if they're interested in getting life coaching, health coach, nutrition?
The easiest is either through my website, which is, again, Change by Challenge, or my email, which is Laura@Change by Challenge. But I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, again, at Change by Challenge.
And then lastly, Laura, what advice would you leave the audience with, in your opinion, in reference to life coaching, health coaching, and nutrition?
I have 2. One is if you're looking for a physical transformation to heal an inside problem, you're probably not going to be satisfied when you reach your goals. So there's nothing wrong with having the goals, but maybe go after it on the inside and the outside and go from a bilateral approach. But when it comes to your body image and the goals you have, make sure you're going after what you want and not what society is making you believe you want, because ultimately it takes a lot of hard work to gain or lose weight. And that means you have to adjust your lifestyle. And it's more important that you're enjoying your lifestyle instead of trying to fit an image, hoping that you're going to feel a certain way when you get to that image. So I would encourage people to examine the lifestyle and the results you have. And if you're unhappy with that, look at the balance within the healthy habits you have in your lifestyle and see where you're willing to adjust while still being able to enjoy your lifestyle. If, for example, if someone told me I could never have pizza again, but I could have a 6-pack, it's not worth it. I like pizza. I would rather not have a 6-pack and enjoy pizza on occasion. So figure out what your balance is that makes you feel your best, both physically outside and mentally inside.
Wow, that was powerful.
Thank you.
Like that. And so, Laura, I would like to thank you so much for coming on Bombshell 1111 podcast and sharing your knowledge and your resources. I'm pretty sure that the information that you shared was very resourceful for someone. And it definitely was for me, because I took notes. As I said, I wasn't joking. I definitely took notes.
I'm glad.
Yeah, because I in my personal life, I've tried to several different methods in reference to trying to gain weight, and it's pretty much like what you said. If you don't change your lifestyle completely, it doesn't work, and if it does, it's temporary. Because with me, I wanted to gain weight. I gained weight, but then, like you said, with stresses in life, the weight that I gained, I lost as soon as I gained it. So yeah, I definitely agree. So again, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And you guys, we're going to close out. Always remember, you are a bomb within your own shell. Peace, love, and light. Until next time, you guys, good night. Oh my God. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate, review, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're leaving with some valuable information that can help you on your personal journey. Also, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Bombshell 1111 or at Bombshell 1111 TV. You can also check out our mental health page, Your Health is Your Wealth, on Facebook, which is a page created to inform and support individuals with mental health and other health conditions. And with that being said, always remember, you guys, you are a bomb within your own shell. And until next time, peace, love, and light.